question.
Sure.
This is Richard again.
Yep.
I've gotten a little behind on exercise, but I have a colleague here to help me out with the putting the lines in with the dimensions.
Yep.
But my trim, even my colleague wasn't able to get my trim to work.
All right, I have your screen. All right, so what was the problem?
Trim,
Yep.
select.
Okay, I know what happened. So you're in the mode where it's the standard mode, and it wants to you to select the cutting edges and then select the elements. So you see where it says start the command again. All right, you see where it says mode down in the command line? Yeah, click on that, and then click on quick. Then hit enter to end the command.
I did.
All right, now try to do it. There you go. So during, I don't remember exactly when it was, but yeah, you might have changed it over to standard mode and didn't change it back, but that's good. Now you've got it. You can hit enter. All right, very good.
Thank you.
All right, here's what we're going to start with. Here's what we're going to tackle first. Oh, by the way, this is my favorite part of when I'm doing plans and working. Sometimes I'll do some CAD work for clients. They give me a markup like this. My favorite part, and I guess it's my personality, is just marking off everything that I've completed here. So I'll do this for you, for your benefit, but we have now completed figuring out where all of these dimensions for the top and bottom window openings are. So there it is on the top, and here it is on the bottom. And so pretty soon, this whole entire markup here is going to be all yellow. That's the goal. That's the goal. All right, let's start here in the lower left-hand corner. This is a water closet. All right. So here is the bones, the walls for this water closet. So what we're going to do is we're going to offset at these various dimensions. See how prevalent offset is. So the first thing I think I'll start with is I'll start by offsetting this inside face line here, 3 foot 7.5. Then I'll offset that resulting line 2 foot 6. Then I'll offset that line 6 inches, and then I'll offset it 3.5 inches. Notice there's no dimension for 3.5 because we have a an overall note for it. Every wall in here is 3.5 inches thick. Then I'm going to offset this bottom line here 2 foot 10, and then another 3.5 inches to get this thickness. So we're going to find out where all of these walls are and the door opening. Okay, so that's a door opening to get into the water closet. All right, now that you've seen that, here's what we're going to do. Focus in on the lower left-hand corner. I'm going to start with the vertical elements first. So I want you to start the offset command. Now, really, the only sort of dimension that I can think that repeats out of all of this is the 3.5 inch thickness of the wall offset. Every other dimension is different. 3 foot 7.5, 2 foot 6, 6 inches, 2 foot 10. The only one it only repeats twice because we're creating two walls. Is 3.5 inch thickness of the wall. So for your quote unquote default dimension, I'm going to have you put in here 3.5 for 3.5 inches. All right. Remember, anytime you enter in the box, you enter on the keyboard. All right, first things first, it says select the object to offset. We're going to select this inside vertical wall, not the outside wall. Our dimensions reference the inside face, not the outside face in this situation. So I want you to select this vertical line here on the inside face of the wall to offset. Go ahead and click on it. Now, move your mouse anywhere over here to the left of that, to the right of that wall. The first dimension I want you to plug in is 3 foot 7.5. So put it in like this, 3 foot 7.5. 3 foot 7.5. Anytime you enter in a dimension into that text box, you're going to hit enter on your keyboard. Pretty soon I'm going to stop saying that, but I want to drill it into your head. You have to know when to hit enter and know when to pick. Know when to hold them and know when to fold them. All right, go ahead and hit enter. Now the next offset is going to be 2 foot 6 for a door opening. All right, so pick on that resulting line, move your mouse to the right and type in 2 foot 6. Question.
Yes, sir. Can you take a look at my screen and see what happened? And I did exactly what you said.
Is this Richard?
Yes, sir.
Well, oddly enough, I don't know how you were able to get the openings, which is good, the openings on the north and south wall, because apparently those lines are still polylines, all right? So the initial thing that we did is we exploded those polylines. So I want you to delete that thing there. Just go ahead and delete that thing in the middle, all right? Now I want you to put a window around the whole, just delete it. Look. Just select that thing. You're doing too many things. Select it and hit enter. See how it says now it's there you go. Now, can you bring your cursor above the rectangles and to the left of the rectangles? Now, I want you to pick one point with your left mouse button. And I want you to move your mouse all the way to the southeast. Don't drag, just move your mouse all the way, and then I want you to put a window around everything. Keep going. That's good. Now click. Now, I want you right underneath the eraser button, I want you to click the explode button. All right, now try it. Start your offset command. Type in 3 foot 7.5, just like you did before. But this time you're gonna select the inside. You go ahead and hit enter. All right, now click on the inside line like you did before. Pick anywhere to the right of that line. That's right. Good. Pick. Now select that line again. Move anywhere to the right and type in 2 foot 6. Now see that's the difference is because, and go ahead and hit enter. That's because, and you're caught up with me. Because somehow or another, I don't know how you got the little lines there. That was good. But somehow those polylines were still polylines. We needed them to be exploded. All right. Moving on. I only got the 3 foot 7.5. So let me continue with the command here. All right, so I'm going to offset this line 2'6". Hit enter. I'm going to offset now. This line is going to be offset 6 inches. So I'm just going to type in 6 and hit enter. And then finally, for these vertical lines, I'm just going to select this last one, and now I'll be able to use my default distance by just clicking my left mouse click. All right, now I'm going to continue in the command. I'm going to select the inside face horizontal line representing the inside face of the south wall. I'm going to pick on that point right there. I'm going to pick on that line right there. All right, and the distance that I need for this one is 2'10". So I'm going to type in 2. What's going on? 2. 2. There we go. 2'10" Just at 2'10" and hit enter. And then finally, I'm going to take that line and I'm going to offset it 3.5 inches for the thickness of the wall, just like this, just a pick. And then I'm going to hit enter to exit out of the command. So 2'10". So we have located all right. So we located all of these walls. This line here was 3'7.5". This one was 2'6". This one was 6 inches. This is 3.5 inches. Then we came down to here. This was 2'10" up, and then 3.5 inches. Now we need to do a little bit of cleanup. All right, here's what I'm going to have you do. I need you to trim this portion here, this portion here, this portion here, this portion here, this portion, and this portion. And then continuing, I just need this portion here and this portion here. Now what's going to end up happening is you're going to use the trim command and you're going to pick on those parts that I sort of did there. And what's going to remain is what I'm showing in yellow. You're going to keep these lines just the way they are. All right? And you're not going to trim anything else. All right, so now you know where we're going with this. I'm going to do it.
Hey, Alan, for a moment, can you pull back up the your drawing that we're basing on? I needed to take a picture. My thing's hesitating, so I'm not getting all the dimensions. So I just want to grab it real quick so I can take a picture of it.
All right, I can do you one better. On your desktop, in the class files folder, there is a PDF in your class files folder called Print Me 8.5 by 11 Bedroom Manual. That, if you double click on that, it'll open up right here in your interface so you can look back and forth between the two. Here's your drawing, here's the markup. You can also zoom in if you hold down your control key. You can zoom in just like you can in AutoCAD into the PDF. So you can look here and you can look here.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, it's switching between
I know.
your stream and the other one, it hesitates. So
That's right. All right, so now you got this. Good. All right. So back to what I was going to do. I'm going to start the trim command. And basically, here's another thing I want to make sure. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. The lines that we go, they don't cross over these lines, so it doesn't really matter that if they're on the screen or not, because they don't cut into it. But here we go. I'm going to trim, 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 trim. Let me move this a little bit so we can all see what I'm doing. Trim, trim, and trim. And that's all I want you to do. Just leave those behind just like that. Now, did you see all the trim, trim, trim that I did? I've got an easier way to do that. Instead of getting that little teeny box, that's called a pick box actually, to hover over the line that you want to trim, the portion of the line you want to trim, you can use those fences that I showed you the other day. A fence or a freehand fence. Let me undo what I did here and I'll show you. So here is everything before I trim. If I start the trim command, instead of using my tiny little pick box and clicking on the portions of the lines I want to try to trim, if you move off to the side of those objects and just pick one, you get what's called a fence, okay? And then you can use this fence to very quickly and easily trim all of the lines, just like that, with a couple clicks. And you don't have to be exact, meaning you don't have to click right on the line with the little teeny box. How about, now sometimes the fence, might not get around these corners easy. I was able to do it. I had enough room where I wasn't, messing up like this. I wasn't doing something crazy like that. That's a mess. Okay? I did have enough room to do it like that, but sometimes you might not have the space to do this. This is where you can hold down your left mouse button and create what's called a freehand fence. So I can start anywhere over here, and if I hold down my mouse, look at this, I can just do a little freehand fence. And here, I'll do another one here. And I can trim those elements out. All right? Now, same as before, guys. I want you to hold off on the feeling of trimming everything out. Okay? I just need the bones. I just need the walls. I don't need you to go through and do the fine tuning like this. I don't need this yet. And the reason I don't want you to do this yet, like that, that's the fine tuning of the trim. I don't want you to do that yet because we're going to, there's various places throughout this plan that I'm going to need to use the geometry, and it's best if the geometry, the lines are all one line. Now I've got several different separate lines, and then if I offset, it's going to make things a little bit more complicated. So hold off on that urge to trim everything fine tuning or fine detail until we get to that point. In fact, I even think that it's much more easier and to do the rest of the plan, and it's more satisfying at the end. You're going around and you're trimming everything with those fences and everything. It's actually, it can be actually a little fun to do. Anyway, so trimming all of this, just leave the fine tuning for later. All right. All right, so there's the outline of our water closet. Let's take a look now. All right, so here's my favorite part: 3'7.5", 2'6", 6 inches, 2'10", and we've got all of those dimensions. And by process of elimination, we've got this guy too. We didn't even have to do anything. All right, the next thing that I want to tackle here is, how about this wall right here? And then I think what I'm going to do is I am going to start to define the outline of the walls of this walk-in closet. All right, so this is a walk-in closet here. So this is it right here. So I'm going to start here at the top here. You'll see that there's a dimension here for 15'6". And that references the inside face of this north wall. So I'm going to have it offset 15'6", then 3.5 inches, then 7'9.5", then 3.5. So you heard 3.5 in there a couple times. So I'm going to use 3.5 as my default dimension for offset. All right. 7'9.5", 15'6". All right, so here we go. Start the offset command. I'm going to enter in a default distance of 3.5 inches. 3.5. You don't need to put the inch mark. Inches are already inferred. Hit enter. Now select that lower line on the north wall, the inside face wall line. Move your mouse, your cursor down below that line, and you're going to enter in the distance of 15'6". Go ahead and press enter. Now you have that line that goes right through the middle of the bedroom. All right, now you're going to select that line, and you're going to pick anywhere below it because that's going to be a wall. It's 3.5 inches thick. You're going to pick. All right, now continuing on with this, you're going to select this line, the resulting line you just created, and this is going to be the width of the walk-in closet, which the dimension is 7'9.5". So I'm going to type in 7'9.5", and I'm going to hit enter. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and pick this resulting line, and I'm going to move my mouse, and look at that, 3.5 inches. All I need to do is pick. All right, while I'm still in the command, I might as well go ahead and locate this wall here at 8'3". All right, so I might as well do that. Or if you've already entered the command, just start it back up again. Put 3.5 inches as your default dimension. And we're going to select this inside face line on the west wall, the inside line. All right. And we're going to move our mouse anywhere to the right, and we're going to type in the distance, 8'3". 8'3". Anytime you enter in a distance, you hit enter on your keyboard, and then you're going to select that resulting line and offset it anywhere to the right, 3.5, which is your default distance. Just go ahead, 3.5. All right, now you can hit enter to exit out of the command. So this is what you're left with. Okay? Now here's what I want us to trim now. I can zoom in a little bit because remember, over here there's no cutting edge that's going to affect this over here. So I don't have to worry about that being, as I say, off stage or off screen. All right, so here's what I'm going to have us do. I'm trying to get a good thing here. Here we go. You're going to trim this and this trim. You're going to keep this entire line here and this line here, this little portion here, and this little portion right here. So that's what you're going to keep. All right, so I'm going to start the trim command. And I'll do a little fence here maybe, and then a little fence here. 2 clicks and I'm done. Actually, 4 clicks. All right. So taking a look now, I was able to put in this dimension here and the 3.5 inches. We used the 15'6" dimension to locate the center wall that goes right through the middle of our bedroom plan. We used the 7'9.5" to get the other wall of the closet. And by default, we have defined this 4-foot dimension that goes from the water closet to the walk-in closet. All right? All right, so I'm going to hold off on some of these other dimensions. I want to go ahead and focus on this is the linen closet. So this is where all the towels go and everything like this. This linen closet right here. All right, now this is a little tiny bit different than the other things that we've done. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to offset this inside line on the east wall, 2'1.5". And then we're going to offset this bottom line here to get we're going to offset it 4'2" inches, okay? But here's the tricky part. This is going to the outside face. So what we're going to do is we're going to offset 3.5 inches up from there, okay? All right. And I forgot to mention, after we offset 2'1", we're going to offset 3.5 inches. So once again, I think 3.5 inches is going to be our go-to offset dimension because it's the one that's used most because of the thickness of the walls. All right, with that in mind, here we go again. I'm going to start the offset command. I'm going to start with the vertical wall line, the inside face line. So I'm going to plug in my default distance of 3.5 inches, 3.5, and hit enter. All right, now I'm going to select the inside line of the east wall, move my mouse anywhere to the west, and I'm going to type in the dimension 2'1" and hit enter. Now I'll take that line and I'll click anywhere to the left of that line with the left mouse click. All right, now I'll select this lower horizontal line here, the lower one from the wall that divides the bedroom from the bathroom and closet area. I'll move my mouse below to the south of that line and I'm going to type in the distance 4'2" and hit enter. Now, this is the tricky part. I want everybody to select this line, but you're not going to click below it. You're going to click above it. Click above it. They tried to trick you on the markup. So click for this wall here and click above it. All right, so that's what I'm referring to right here. This goes all the way to the outside edge here, and you're going to click the other way to get the 3.5 inch dimension. All right. Now, here we have a little bit of a tricky trimming operation. This line here that we offset, it goes completely through this wall of the walk-in closet. All right. So here's what I don't want you to do. Well, actually, let me do what I've been doing. I think this is helpful. I need to trim this line and this line from here. I need to trim this line and this line. And I need to trim this line and this line. And the only thing I want left over is this line and this line. I should say this wall and this wall. Okay? Now, the tricky part is this area right here. This wall is on the screen. It's on stage. If I leave it on stage and I go to trim, see how this gets left behind? Now, it's not that big of a deal. You can certainly go in and erase it, but I'm trying to make you guys a little bit more efficient, so I'm going to undo what I just did. And if you zoom in, and as long as this wall or these lines are off stage, so you can kind of pan over and just sort of focus on this area here. As long as those are off stage, then you can trim. You're going to trim this portion and this portion, and this portion and this portion, and this portion and this portion, and you're going to leave behind. I just want to make sure nobody trims. I don't want you to trim this. Leave that here. I didn't point it out. All right? So with those elements off stage, you can use your trim command. So just trim this portion up here. And then you can trim these lines here like that. Just like that. And because those were off stage, I don't have to go back and delete anything. See that? Nice and clean. All right. So here's what we marked off here. We marked off 2'1". We marked off 4'2". All right. Okay, now let's go back to the walk-in closet. Look at this little detail here. This is a perfect example of what we might use the chamfer command for. So we would start the chamfer command, and then we would enter in a distance 1 of 2 feet, and then a second distance for 2 feet. This is a chamfer. Now, here, I'm going to just right off the bat try to tell you right now. We only are going to use the chamfer command for this line here, not the other line. So, spoiler alert, what I'm going to have you do is you're going to basically create the chamfer, and then you're going to offset this line 3.5 inches after you're done. The reason is that this and this is not 2 feet. I don't even know what it is. Okay? So that is not 2 feet like this is 2 feet. and it won't give you a 3.5 inch thickness. So we're simply just going to offset it 3.5 inches. All right. All right. So here's what I want you to do. Start the chamfer command. Here it is, right up here in the little drop down beneath fillet. All right. Now we have to go to the option for distance. I'm going to type in D for distance. Specify the first chamfer distance. I want that to be 24 inches. Go ahead and hit enter. Now you can see the second distance is 2 feet because it assumes that we want the second distance to be the same as the first, and that's correct in this situation. So all you need to do is hit enter to accept that default. Now, select this line, this outside line here with your pick box, and then hover, don't click on it yet, but just hover over this bottom line. Look what you get. You get a preview. So it lets you know that you're doing what you mean to do. You see a preview of it, and that's what you want. That's the result you want. Once you're satisfied that that's the result, you just go ahead and click on it, and you've now offset that element. I'm sorry,
Alan,
you chamfered it. You chamfered it. You didn't offset it because we're going to get to offset. All right, who is speaking?
Yeah, this is Patrick Allen.
Yep.
I thought I did it, but maybe I did something wrong. It says
All right,
second.
I got to go ahead and start the chamfer command. Oh, yeah, you have. Go ahead and hit enter to accept. See, you have to follow the prompts. Look at the prompt at your cursor. It's saying specify the second one. It's waiting for you to hit enter to accept that 2 foot dimension.
Maybe,
That's what you got called. Just hit enter.
and I don't think, I did something that's stuck on that. Can I back out of it? Let's
Just,
see. Try and get it.
Yeah, you know what? Just start the command again. Just press the button again, chamfer. All right, now look at your prompt. Oh. Start the command.
So type in D
Oh,
for
yeah.
distance.
Okay, so go to type in D for distance.
Just D, and then
What do you think? How does it know what you want? You have to hit enter. There you go. Now, type in 24 and hit enter. Now, you see how it's waiting for you to enter in the second distance. There you go. Now you got it. Go ahead and select that. And remember, always look to your command line for prompts. Now, you see which one you want to select. You want to select the bottom horizontal line. There you go. All right, now hit enter to act. Well, you're fine. You're fine right there. Just stay right there. Good. All right, for everybody else, here's what I want you to do. I want you to start the offset command, and I want you to offset that diagonal line anywhere above that diagonal line. I want you to offset it by the thickness of a wall, which is 3.5 inches. So I want you to start the offset command. Type in a distance of 3.5. Hit enter, and then offset that line anywhere above to this side. Just click to offset the line, all right? Now here's why I did not want you to use the chamfer for the other caddy corner. If you tried to do that with the original 2 foot dimension for the first chamfer distance and a 2 foot dimension for the second chamfer distance, this is not a true 2 foot dimension here. Look at the difference here. that? That's not the correct width, so that's why I did not want you to do that. Alright. But what you can do here is you can use your fillet command. Okay, now we could use trim. Okay, but let me show you something first. If I did the trim command here to clean this up, I'd have to trim this out, but then I have to trim this, and then I have to trim this, and then I have to trim this little thing, and then I have to trim this, and then I have to trim this. That's a little bit more than we need as far as work is concerned. I'm going to show you, you're going to use the fillet command to very easily clean this up. Let me undo what I did. All right. So I want everybody to switch over to the fillet command. And I want you to check the radius property, or option, I should say. We're going to make sure the radius option is 0. Generally, the default is always 0 in drawing. So you're going to go to R for radius, or here I right click to get to the options. It is 0.
Where's the fillet command? The fillet command?
What is it?
Where's the fillet command, Patrick? Where's the fillet?
Oh yeah, right. Okay. Here's the fillet command, right where the chamfer command was. It's right above the chamfer command.
Trim?
In the drop-down list here, there's a drop-down right next to fillet.
Got it.
There you go. So, yeah, it's going to select fillet.
Got it.
All right. Now, as I said, I've already checked it, and I'm pretty sure everybody's radius is 0. But just to make sure, like I said, check to see that your radius option is set to 0. So in this case now, I hit the down arrow on my keyboard. There's radius, and it's 0. That's perfect. I'm going to accept that. Now, before I do anything, I've got several places I want to fill it. So this is a perfect example of I want to use a multiple fillet. The multiple option, I should say. All right, so I want you to click here, multiple. Now, this is the thing about the fillet command. It is not a trim command in the sense that with the trim command, you're clicking on the parts you want to get rid of. With the fillet, with a 0 radius, what you're doing is you're clicking on the parts you want to keep. So you're clicking like maybe here and here. And what that will do is it will trim this little portion out here and this entire line here. Similarly, over here, you're going to pick on this portion you want to keep. And by the way, it does not have to be this close. I mean, I could pick anywhere along this line, just as long as I don't pick here or here, because that's the opposite of what you're trying to do. This is what I'm thinking, you think, my students, they think that is the trim command, and you pick on those portions you want to trim. That's not it. You want to pick on the parts you want to keep, and therefore it's going to get rid of this portion. All right, so keeping that in mind, with my multiple set, I'm going to click here and here, and you can even see a preview. See how it grays out, it half tones, it dims out. That's what's going to be deleted. And then you're going to pick on this line here anywhere, but just not here. Let me just show you what would happen if you did that. So this is what people, they come in here and they think, all right, let me click on this and then this. And that's exactly the opposite of what you want. So remember, when you're using the fillet command, it's not like trim, but it will, in a sense, trim things. But what you're picking on the parts of the lines you want to keep, not the parts you're trying to trim. And I shouldn't use the word trim, but that's basically what it's going to do. All right, let me undo that again. And let me just undo the whole thing so I can do it all in one fluid motion. So here we go. Fillet, radius, and you don't have to keep checking the radius every single time. Whatever the last radius is what it's going to be. If you remember setting it to 0, then you don't have to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway in this whole process. 0. Then I have multiple places where I want to fill it, so I'm going to use multiple, and then I'm going to pick on the parts I want to keep. 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm done. All right. Now, my markup is getting pretty filled up here. I covered this. I've got my 2-foot dimension. I've got my little caddy corner of my closet. Maybe what I do now is I locate where this opening is in the walk-in closet. So this is easy. This is 2'6" and 2'6". Now I haven't discussed this yet, but offset has a multiple option too. And here's the deal. Let me show it to you first, and then even though this is only just 2 dimensions of 2'6", 2'6", and 2'6", just so you know that it's available, this multiple option, let me show you what it does. Here, what I'll do for this is I'll copy one of my lines as an example. So I don't want to mess up my plan. So I'm just going to copy one of my lines at random over here. All right, so I have a little sample, or you could just draw a line. I don't know why I had to copy a line. You could just draw a line. I don't know why I did that. You can just draw a line. All right, so if I start the offset command, and let's say I have to offset a bunch of things 2'6" in dimension. So I'll plug in 2'6". All right. Then, if I select that object, I get additional options. I haven't shown this to you. I have to select the object first. This is what, to be honest with you guys, this is what gets me confused between the multiple fillet and, in this case, the multiple offset, because with the fillet, you have to click multiple first. And with the offset, you have to select the object first and then select the multiple option. So there's the multiple option. And what this allows you to do is, I don't have to keep coming back and clicking on objects to select to offset. With the multiple option, look what I can do. I can bring my cursor like way above this, see where my cursor is, and all I have to do is click, 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 click. And I don't have to keep going back and selecting something and then select a point aside to offset. All I have to do is just keep my cursor to the side I want to offset these elements, and I can click, 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 click. It's I'm going faster than AutoCAD can do it. Anyway, that's the multiple option. Now, I know that this is not that big of a deal over here. What I'm getting at is you can select this object, and then you can offset, offset. All right? It's not that, there's only 2. What I'm getting at, there's only 2, but I just wanted to show you, you have that option. So let me undo everything, and we can do it together here. All right, so I'm back to where I was. So here's, like I said, not a big, you can, the point is, this would probably not be the best situation to use the multiple, but just to show you and give you some context to it, we'll use it for this situation. So start the offset command. I want you to put in here 2'6" as your dimension, 2'6", and hit enter. Then here's the tricky part. You have to select the object first. So select the lower line of the wall that divides the two rooms. Select the lower line, the inside face of the closet, I guess you could say. Move your mouse. I'm going to move my mouse well below, like in this area here. Oh, but first I have to start the multiple option, of course. That's the whole point. So I'm going to select multiple. And now I'm going to move my mouse down here below it. And all I have to do now is click twice. Once, twice, and I'm done. And here I can go ahead and either hit enter on my keyboard, or I just right click to get to this. And look at that, I was able to offset those two elements that quickly like that. I know in this situation it's not that big of a deal. I could have, what's the savings here? You know, negligible, but still, if I come in here and I do 2'6", here's the whole difference. I have to select this line and then click, then I have to go back and select this line and then click. That's it. But now you know you have that option. Alright, here to clean this up, what you need to do here is you need to zoom in so that this line over here, this wall over here is not on stage, not on screen. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to make sure before I trim that this is not on the screen. So I'm going to have to maybe pan over a little bit. And then I can go ahead and trim these two lines here and these two lines here. Okay? All right. Now, there's a little bit of a trickiness to the linen closet. Notice how their two dimensions are not given. Equal, equal. So there's a 2'6" door, and they want to center it on this wall. All right? So what we're going to do is this. We're going to use our object snap. You see this line right here, or this line right here? This is the complete middle of this linen closet. So what I'm going to have you do is this. You're going to draw a line from the midpoint snap here to the midpoint snap of the other line, and that's going to give you the center of the closet. Okay? Then you're going to take that little line there and you're going to offset it above and below by half the distance of the opening, which opening is 2'6" for the door. So you're going to plug in a dimension of 1'3" and 1'3", and that's going to give you the position of that opening. All right, so here, let's start it. Start the line command. And then hover over one of the vertical lines until you see the midpoint snap. When you see the midpoint snap, go ahead and click. And then go to the other line's midpoint snap. Alright, then end the command.
Hey, Al, mine's not showing a midpoint that I need to.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought that might have been left on. That's fine, that's my fault. Here is the object snaps, to turn them on. So who is that, Patrick?
Patrick, yeah, you're down at the bottom.
Yeah, down at the bottom, it's actually on, but here, I know what's going on. You might not have set midpoint. That was one of the ones that I suggested everybody did. So click on that little menu there and select midpoint. Yeah, this was left over from yesterday, sorry. So go ahead and start the line command. Yeah, you got it. Now you can go to midpoint, correct.
So put in 1 foot 3 inches? Or
No, that's the whole thing. You don't have to do that. You can just pick midpoint of here and then midpoint of the other line. Zoom in a little bit so you can see what you're doing. Zoom in. You actually did it, but see how it was so difficult to see what you're doing because you were so far zoomed out. Go ahead and hit enter. You're done. All right, good. All right, now that you've got that line, you're going to offset half the distance of a door opening, 2'6", which is 1'3". Oh, I didn't have the command started. All right, offset 1'3", and hit enter. Now select that little teeny line and pick a point above it, then go back and select that same line and pick a point below it. And that locates the opening of the linen closet centered on the wall there. All right. All right. I've got something I want to show Patrick, and I'm going to show it to everybody. Patrick, this is the thing I was wanting us to avoid where you, here, let me take control. I didn't want you to trim this portion out here. Okay? That's okay. It's all right. Everything's fine. But if something like this happens, one way you could approach this is you could delete these elements here and use your extend command and extend those over there. But look what you have to do. You have to keep going and you have to keep going until you get there. All right, so that restores that wall there. But I've got something I want to show everybody else that we didn't actually show yesterday. Let me undo. In your modify panel, there's a tool here called, in the drop down here, it's called join. And what this allows us to do, it allows us to join two lines that are along the same, have to be along the same plane, of course. But I can now turn these two lines into one single line. This line here and this line here. So if I do the join command, it asks me to select one line, it asks me to select two different lines. Now, by the way, it could be more than two lines. It just happens to be the only lines I want to join. And I hit enter, and look how the two lines join. I'll do it again for the other line there. And so I can select, whoops, this line here and this line here. And now I can join that together. So I used your screen, Patrick, to show everybody that, but now you're ready to go, because maybe what we'll do is we'll find because now we have to find the opening. So that wasn't the full opening. You'll see in just a second. All right, I'm going to stop controlling. All right. So exactly what we were at here. If you look at the markup, all right, so I took care of this. Actually, let me undo that. I'm pretty sure, but I actually haven't confirmed, although I'm pretty sure. I have not yet confirmed that those two dimensions are equal on either side. So I'm going to leave that unmarked. Alright, so up here, we didn't want the walls to stop right here. We actually needed to leave behind 6 inches on this side and 6 inches on that side, and that's when we're eventually gonna get rid of. So we wanted to locate where these little things are. That's what's shown on the markup. So what we're looking for is to offset this line here 6 inches and this line here 6 inches. And then that should give us our 4-foot opening by default. All right, so let's do it. Start the offset command. Use 6 inches as your default distance, 6. And then offset this line here to the right, and then offset this line here to the left. All right. Now you can trim the excess. And at this point, guys, I think it's okay. If you want to, you can go ahead and trim this out. I don't foresee us needing to do that, but I'm gonna hold off on it. But if you really want to, I see people just, itching to trim this stuff up. You can go ahead and do this one, but I'm gonna undo it. All right, so I just want to trim this. All right. Now we only have basically 2 more tasks, and we've got all the walls. So I've got this dimension, I've got this dimension, I'm pretty sure I've got this dimension. So the only things left are this opening here that's 5 feet, and something that you've already done. That's why I saved it for last. You've already located and practiced this opening here, this opening here, and this opening here. So let's start with the one we haven't done yet, and then we're going to wrap this up and take lunch and congratulate ourselves. We got all of the walls in our bedroom plan. So let's start over here. Now in this situation, it doesn't matter whether I start from this end or from this end. I'm going to select one of these dimensions. I'm going to do this one. How about 10 foot 3.5, and I'm going to offset it from the outside edge. You see where that dimension is referencing the outside edge. So I'm going to offset 10 foot 3, and then I'm going to plug in a dimension of 5 feet. All right, I'm going to start from the top. So start your offset command. You're going to type in a distance of 10 foot 3.5. 10 foot 3.5. Hit enter, and you're going to select the top line of the north wall and pick anywhere below with your left mouse click. Anywhere below. Then I want you to select that line, move your mouse anywhere below, and you're going to type in 5 feet. Anytime you enter into the little box, you hit enter on your keyboard. Now I want you to trim out the lines that are in the middle, but here you got to be careful. I don't want to leave these on the east wall. I don't want to leave the little things here, so you want to put this east wall off stage, off the screen, and then trim those lines. Like that, okay? One more time, just so everybody gets it. If that thing is not off stage and I go to trim, I have these lines that I don't need, and they're going to confuse us when we finish up our thing here, okay? So I just want you to realize that's why the little idiosyncrasies of the trim command. All right. We're coming down to the wire here. We're rounding the bend. So we got this dimension and we added this dimension, and by default we got this dimension. So the only thing left is the openings of the windows along the east wall, and you've already done this. So let's do it together and we're gonna finish this up. If you remember, the default distance that we used during our practice was, start your offset command. Your default distance was 3 foot. Go ahead and hit 3 foot and hit enter. All right, now select the bottommost line of your south wall, the bottommost line. Move your mouse above it. Now that's not 3 feet. That's 1 foot 6, if you remember. Anytime you enter on your keyboard. Now select that line and pick anywhere above it. 3 feet is the dimension we want. Pick. Now select that line. Move your mouse above it. 3 feet is not the dimension we want. The dimension we want is 12 foot 6. Hit enter. I gotta pan up a little bit. Now select that line and pick anywhere above it because that's the default distance. Now select that line, move your mouse above it and type in 7 foot 1 and hit enter. And finally, just pick a point above that line. And we don't have to do the 1 foot 6 because we already have the 1 foot 6 there at the top of our plan. All right. Now make sure. Look at how these lines cross over your west wall. You know. All right. So before you start trimming, make sure the west wall is off stage. And you can zoom in a little bit to do this. You can do them individually. And I tell you what, I give you permission now. You can go ahead and trim the openings along with everything else. And I'll show you what I need for the trimming for everything else. But here, I'll go ahead and clean this up. Using trim, here, watch this. How about a freehand fence? I'll drag my mouse through all of this like this. Look at this. That takes care of that. Maybe same thing up here. All right. And then up at the very top. Here, to do it again, I didn't need to do the freehand. I could do like this. Fence. Well, never mind. I was gonna. But anyway, yeah. Whichever way you find easiest. And then, but finally, here's what I like to do. I like to make a puzzle out of it. This is some of the things that I do to just amuse myself after having done this floor plan for so many years. I want everybody to trim out all of the openings. Plus, I want you to clean up the intersections where the walls meet up with one another. All right, so here's the little game that I try to play with myself here. I try to get all of the openings with one freehand fence. Now, I don't advise you to do this until you get more adept at doing it, but if you want to watch me play around here, this is what I'm talking about. I try to go here and here and here and here. Oh, then I need to get back in the building, then I can go out of the building, and then maybe I can come in here and go through this doorway here, and then, I might get a little trapped here, so I have to make a U-turn back around here and then out here. And I have the closet to do, but those are basically most of the openings there. And if I let go of my mouse button, there, everything was trimmed out. Over here, the trim command acts like an erase command too, even though it doesn't have any sort of boundaries or cutting edges. So you can delete this little line here before you start trimming the linen closet. All right. And so now just go around, and you don't have to use a fence. You can still just individually click if you're more comfortable doing that, like I'm doing here. I don't think you need to do any fillets. I think it's easier with the trim command. So some people think that, maybe using the fillet in some situations, and it might be, but just kind of go around wherever the walls intersect. Go ahead and trim and see how it's satisfying, like they say on YouTube. They have satisfying videos. This is kind of satisfying. And as you waited to the very end to do this, you had all this intact geometry that you could use to locate all the other geometry. All right, so when you're done, this is your result here. All right. Save your drawing. And that's pretty much all, except I left behind my equal. Oh, no, let me mark this off. This is the best part. Getting all of the dimensions marked off. Everything is yellowed out. That's what we called it when I was drafting. Did you yellow out that plan? Did you complete, the editing of the plan? The engineer, the architect gave you a markup, and you would take the markup, the print, the actual print, the real life physical print, and you had a highlighter, and you would just yellow out. That's what we called it, yellowing out all of the markups. So that you yellow out everything. So the only thing I haven't yellowed out is this EQ. I'm going to confirm that. And that's what our next thing is. We're going to take our break for lunch, but when we come back, we're going to take a look at how we can get information from our drawings, how we can measure elements and find properties of elements. And so we'll be able to do some checks on our plan, make sure we did the correct dimensions, and we can even find the area of various rooms and things like that. So that's what we're going to take a look at after lunch. All right, any questions before we break? All right, then, we're going to start the lunch period. And I'll see you back here in an hour.